The howling winds of Novaya Zemlya, a constant, mournful dirge across the vast Siberian plains, offered no comfort. Inside the reclamation center, the sterile quiet of the arrival bay was broken only by the rhythmic hum of ventilation. Anya Petrova, her sharp features framed by pulled-back dark hair, her intense blue eyes scanning the data pad in her practical dark green fatigues, felt a familiar tension tighten her jaw. Beside her, Grigory Volkov, a man whose craggy face and thick gray beard spoke of decades spent battling the elements, stood burly and stoic in his heavy utilitarian cold-weather gear. They were awaiting a delivery, a 6-month-old lion cub named Kael, reportedly rescued from an illegal wildlife trade. The crate that was finally wheeled in was not what Anya expected. It was a standard sterile transport unit, but a shiver ran down her spine. The air around it felt heavy, almost charged with an unspoken dread. As the latches were carefully released and the front panel lowered, Anya braced herself for the sight of a frightened but defiant predator. What emerged was a ghost. Kael, a small, emaciated bundle of matted golden fur, stumbled out. His eyes, though, were what truly arrested her. Not the wild, fearful gaze of a cornered animal, but an unnatural, deep terror that seemed to understand far too much. He whimpered, a sound more akin to a beaten dog than a lion cub. Anya's heart sank, a cold knot forming in her stomach. This was more than simple trauma. Her initial examination confirmed severe malnutrition and stunted growth, but her instruments also flagged something far more disturbing. Anomalous biomarkers pulsed through his system, alongside unmistakable traces of synthetic neuroinhibitors. This wasn't just neglect. It was calculated. Anya looked up at Grigory, her voice low, laced with a mix of anger and dread. This isn't just trauma, Grigory. These markers suggest engineered suppression of natural instinct. He's been altered. Grigory, a man rarely shaken, flinched. He knelt, his large hand gently touching the cub's shivering fur. His eyes, Anya. They hold too much, understanding for a cub so broken, and too much fear, even for a wild animal. His words echoed Anya's own chilling suspicions. The insidious nature of Kael's arrival began to unfold. Elena, a bright but visibly nervous junior staff member in her standard gray uniform, approached Anya shortly after Kael was settled in quarantine. Petrova, she whispered, glancing over her shoulder. I noticed new surveillance tech, advanced, around Kael's area. It was installed after he arrived, discreetly. Anya's blood ran cold. Later, while conducting a more thorough physical, Anya's gloved fingers brushed against a tiny anomaly beneath Kael's skin, behind his left ear. It was an implant, not the standard ID chip used for tracking, but something far more intricate, encrypted, and suspiciously complex. Remote monitoring, or worse, remote control? The thought sent a jolt of fear through her. The full tragedy of Kael's condition became horrifyingly clear during his supervised introduction to the center's resident adult pride, Boris, Katya, and Ivan, through a secure fence. Instead of the natural cautious curiosity or even aggression expected from a cub, Kael instinctively rolled onto his back, a submissive gesture completely alien to wild lions. The pride reacted not with simple rejection, but with aggressive confusion, almost revulsion. They roared, not with territorial warning, but as if sensing something fundamentally wrong or unnatural about him, a brokenness that transcended their primal understanding. The critical socialization window, vital for any lion cub, was rapidly closing. Anya knew standard protocols offered no hope for Kael. She faced an agonizing decision. Follow the rules and watch him wither, or break them, risking her career, her reputation, even her freedom, to unravel the mystery and save him. The choice was already made. Covertly, she began digging into the Shadow Syndicate rescue reports, the official narrative for Kael's arrival. What she found was a web of inconsistencies, redacted information, and vague details that frayed her nerves. The official story was a flimsy facade. They didn't just break him, she murmured to herself, the words tasting like ash. They built him to be broken. This isn't rescue, it's a cover-up. Her suspicion deepened when she discovered minute, almost imperceptible traces of an unknown, highly sophisticated synthetic compound within the folds of Kael's transport crate, not present in any other transport in the facility. This wasn't merely a case of animal cruelty. This pointed to a deeper, more sinister origin, a deliberate scientific modification. The center's director, a man who usually maintained a benign, almost detached demeanor, suddenly seemed to shift. His eyes, usually placid, held a new unsettling intensity. During a routine morning briefing, he issued a stern, unprompted warning about maintaining absolute protocol integrity regarding Kael's case, his gaze piercing, lingering on Anya for just a moment too long. It was a warning wrapped in a veiled threat, making it clear that eyes were on her. In Kael, the chill of the Siberian morning was a sharp contrast to the sudden frantic warmth of Elena's panic. Doctor! Dr. Petrova! The junior staff member gasped, skidding to a halt outside Anya's office, her face pale. You need to come. Now, it's impossible. Anya's heart hammered. Impossible in this facility usually meant a breach, a disaster. She followed Elena at a brisk pace, her mind racing through biosecurity protocols, potential contaminants, and the unique vulnerabilities of their reclaimed wildlife. Elena led her not to the main containment area, but to Kael's high-security quarantine. What Anya saw through the observation window froze her. Inside the enclosure, sleek and confident, was Rasputin, the facility's unofficial stray, an orange tabby with eyes like intelligent green jewels. Her immediate concern for the cat's safety, a small domestic animal in with a compromised lion cub, quickly transformed into profound, almost disbelieving shock. Rasputin wasn't just in the enclosure. He was deliberately teaching Kael. The tabby sat poised, demonstrating a precise, almost choreographed grooming motion, licking a paw, then drawing it across his face. Kael, hunched and still fragile, watched with an unnerving intensity. Then, with a clumsy yet rapid comprehension, the cub attempted to mirror the movement, his oversized paw batting awkwardly at his own matted fur. It was less an imitation and more an inherent drive reawakening. Doctor, Elena whispered, her voice trembling. He's teaching him, like he knows exactly what Kael needs to learn. The impossible reality settled over Anya. Grigori arrived moments later, drawn by the commotion. He too stood transfixed, his weathered face etched with astonishment. He watched Rasputin, who paid them no mind, continuing his silent lesson. That cat, Grigori rumbled, a rare awe in his voice. His confidence, there's a deeper intelligence there, Anya, beyond a stray's curiosity. The rational part of Anya screamed protocol violation, biosecurity compromised, career jeopardized. But the sight of Kael, for the first time since his arrival, displaying something akin to natural instinct, overrode every logical alarm. This broken cub, manipulated and suppressed, was finding a guide in an unassuming tabby cat. She made the agonizing, high-stakes decision. She must allow Rasputin to stay. It defied every strict biosecurity rule, risked her career, perhaps even her life given the veiled scrutiny the director had imposed. Anya turned to Grigori, her voice low but resolute. This isn't just a cat, Grigori. This is Kael's only hope for connection, and perhaps our only chance to understand what they did to him. That night, under the cloak of darkness, Anya and Grigori worked in silence, installing additional covert observation cameras within Kael's enclosure. These were designed to bypass the facility's official surveillance systems, their purpose to meticulously document Rasputin's unprecedented methods, a silent rebellion against the unknown forces at play. Within days, the transformation was astounding. Kael, under Rasputin's unwavering tutelage, began to show more natural feline behavior than he had in weeks of human intervention. He'd stalk playfully, albeit clumsily, after the tabby, respond to Rasputin's simple meows and nudges, and even attempt to scent mark. A spark of the wild had been rekindled, but as Kael improved, the shadows lengthened. Near Kael's feeding station, Anya discovered minute, crystalline residues. They were unlike anything used in the facility, unlike any feed additive or cleaning agent. It hinted at a continuous, external presence or contamination, a silent, ongoing manipulation. And then, the wellness checks began. The facility's enigmatic security operations team, usually unseen, performed increasingly frequent and intrusive inspections on Kael. Their focus, Anya noticed with a growing sense of dread, was unnervingly concentrated on his behavioral changes. They weren't looking for illness. They were looking for evolution. A cold dread settled deep in Anya's bones. The true danger, she realized, extended far beyond Kael's past trauma. The present surveillance was escalating, and their unauthorized actions, their desperate gamble to save the cub, were drawing unwanted lethal attention. They're not just watching Kael, she thought, her internal monologue a desperate whisper against the rising fear. They're watching Rasputin and us, this cat. He's a wrench in their machine. With uncanny instinct, Rasputin occasionally approached the opaque walls of the enclosure, his intelligent green eyes staring intently at specific points, as if he too was aware of the hidden observers, the silent, pervasive scrutiny. Weeks blurred into a dizzying cycle of observation and mounting apprehension. Inside Kael's enclosure, a miracle unfolded. Under Rasputin's unwavering tutelage, the cub underwent an astonishing transformation. His once clumsy, fearful movements became more fluid, imbued with a nascent grace. Grooming, initially a mimic chore, turned into meticulous self-care, and slowly, tentatively, his vocalizations began to emerge. Not the pained whimpers of before, but soft rumblings and nascent chuffs. Rasputin's teaching methods were beyond anything Anya had ever witnessed. They weren't simply random demonstrations. The small tabby was remarkably systematic, almost strategic. He would actively guide Kael, nudging him into position, maintaining eye contact, repeating specific actions with intentional cues until Kael responded. It was an education, precise and deliberate, between two animals of wildly different sizes. Kael, in turn, displayed an unprecedented level of gratitude and reverence towards Rasputin. The cub, still fragile but gaining strength, was fiercely protective of the small cat, a loyalty that transcended any typical animal-to-animal bond. If Rasputin slept, Kael would gently position himself as a massive, warm shield. Anya and Grigori spent hours reviewing the covert footage. "He's not just learning, Anya," Grigori rumbled, his voice low with a mix of awe and unease, as they watched Kael flawlessly mimic Rasputin stalking a discarded toy. "It's like he's downloading primal instincts. This isn't natural acceleration. It's too fast, too perfect." Kael's tail language, once stiff and uncertain, evolved rapidly, expressing complex emotions and intentions with subtle nuances Rasputin seemed to understand perfectly. More impressive were the new vocalizations, soft chuffs of greeting, deep rumbling contentment, and even assertive growls when startled, the nascent scaffolding of a lion's communication. Yet these sounds were only fully comprehensible, truly meaningful, when Kael interacted with Rasputin, as if the tabby held the key to his awakening. But as Kael blossomed, the shadows around them deepened. Petrova and Grigori meticulously analyzed their covert camera footage, searching for answers. They discovered unsettling anomalies, brief static bursts, inexplicable data gaps at critical moments, and even fleeting glimpses of small camouflage drones outside the enclosure, flitting silently in the perpetual twilight of the Arctic day. Someone was actively interfering, observing not just from within the facility, but from afar. The paranoia escalated when Anya, performing a routine check, found minute, high-frequency listening devices disguised as innocuous environmental sensors subtly placed near Kael's enclosure. Clandestine external surveillance was no longer a suspicion, it was a confirmed reality. Every whispered conversation, every sigh of frustration was likely being recorded. Trusting no one else within the facility, Anya covertly collected Kael's fur and saliva samples, along with environmental samples from his enclosure. She packaged them meticulously, carefully bypassing official channels, preparing them for off-site genetic and chemical analysis by a trusted, independent contact from her past. It was a desperate gamble, but the official narrative was clearly a lie. "They're not just monitoring Kael's behavior anymore," Anya told Grigori, her voice a strained whisper as they stood in the sterile silence of her office, the hum of the ventilation now sounding like a judgmental sigh. "They're trying to understand Rasputin's influence. and ours, were compromised. The unsettling thought, once a fleeting unease, now took root. Rasputin wasn't just a random stray who wandered in. His presence felt orchestrated, or perhaps drawn by Kael's unique, altered nature, a missing piece in a larger, sinister puzzle they were only beginning to comprehend. Kael, guided by Rasputin, began to display sophisticated, organized stalking and simulated hunting behaviors. Even for trivial targets like falling leaves, his movements were unnervingly coordinated and strategic for a cub. He would circle, pounce, and retreat with a calculated precision that was chilling to behold. The director's visits, once infrequent, became more frequent, his questions more probing. He inquired about Kael's unconventional progress with an unsettling precision, and about the unauthorized feline presence with a gaze that had shifted from benign to subtly menacing. Anya could feel his eyes on her, a weight of scrutiny that made her skin crawl. Anya realized with a sickening certainty that they were caught in a deepening web of conspiracy, Kael and Rasputin at its very core, and their every move, every attempt to help was potentially monitored, every breath observed. They were no longer just observers. They were players, unwitting pawns in a game far larger and more dangerous than they could imagine. The air was thick with nervous anticipation for Kael's second introduction to the adult pride. This time it was strategically orchestrated, Kael now stronger, more confident, and, crucially, communicating appropriately through the subtle language Rasputin had painstakingly taught him. Through the secure fencing, he chuffed softly at Boris, Katya, and Ivan, mirroring their wary yet curious glances. The pride responded not with confusion or aggression, but with cautious acceptance. Rasputin, ever vigilant, remained close to Kael, a small, vibrant orange against the cub's growing golden fur. He offered a calming presence, subtly reinforcing Kael's correct social cues with gentle nudges and purrs. It was as if the tabby was a living cipher, translating Kael's newly acquired feline language into the complex, unspoken social world of the pride. "He's not just a teacher anymore, Anya," Grigori murmured, watching the scene unfold with awed disbelief. "He's a living cipher, unlocking Kael's true potential and bridging a gap we couldn't." The moment was bittersweet, a triumph overshadowed by the escalating danger. Petrova had received the preliminary encrypted results from her off-site genetic analysis. They confirmed her worst fears. Kael possessed highly unusual genetic markers, unlike any known wild lion. These weren't random mutations. They indicated deliberate modification and bioengineering. The analysis also pinpointed specific synthetic compounds, remnants of advanced neuroinhibitors designed not just to suppress aggression, but to reroute neural pathways, creating a programmed submission. Kael wasn't just neglected. He was manufactured. This chilling data confirmed the profound conspiracy. Kael was a product of unethical experimentation, the Shadow Syndicate merely a convenient front for a sophisticated bioengineering lab. Her hands trembling, Petrova confided fully in Grigori, laying out the chilling data on her secure tablet. He scanned the results, his face hardening with grim resolve. "They didn't just break him, Anya," Grigori said, his voice a low growl. "They created him. A weapon, perhaps." A terrifying realization dawned on them both. The Novaya Zemlya facility itself, isolated and remote, might be a disguised research station for this very organization, or at the very least, heavily compromised by the forces behind Kael's creation. Their sanctuary was a cage. The confirmation of their deepest fears coincided with a new, ominous development. A high-level audit team descended upon the facility, comprised of cold, impassive individuals in dark suits who moved with an unsettling efficiency. Their focus was immediately, unnervingly, on Kael's enclosure. They questioned Petrova's irregular methodologies with chilling precision, their eyes like chips of ice. The audit team leader, a man whose face was as blank as a fresh snowfall, fixed Anya with an unwavering stare. "Dr. Petrova, your deviation from established protocols concerning subject K001 is significant. We require full disclosure on the domestic feline's involvement." His voice was flat, devoid of emotion, but the implicit threat vibrated in the sterile air. Anya and Grigori exchanged a quick, knowing glance. They were not merely under observation. They were exposed. Their covert efforts, their desperate attempt to save Kael, had been noticed. Their discoveries had been noted. Their time was running out. The agonizing decision, once a theoretical dilemma, solidified into an absolute imperative. They must protect Kael and Rasputin, even if it meant exposing the truth and facing dire, perhaps lethal consequences. Their own lives, their careers, all seemed secondary now to the horrifying implications of Kael's existence. As the auditors moved around his enclosure, Kael, sensing the heightened tension, began exhibiting unusual vigilance. His golden eyes, now sharper, more alive, tracked their every movement with an unsettling, almost human awareness, as if he understood the danger they represented. Working late into the night, fueled by fear and grim determination, they re-examined Kael's original transport crate. Grigori's experienced hands ran over every inch of the sterile plastic. Then his fingers snagged on a minute, barely perceptible seam. With a subtle click, a hidden micro SD card slot was revealed, inside a sophisticated covert data chip. Petrova inserted it into her secure reader. A partial file flashed on the screen. Project Chimera. Below it, another chilling reference. Apex Predator Protocol. The horrifying scope of the conspiracy, far grander and more terrifying than they could have imagined, began to unfurl before them. If you've been following Kael's incredible journey, you know the stakes have never been higher. The mystery surrounding this lion cub has shattered Dr. Petrova's world, revealing a conspiracy so profound, so dangerous, that her own life and the lives of those she cherishes hang in the balance. Every twist, every revelation has pulled us deeper into a web of deceit, and what's coming next will shock you to your core. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay tuned as we uncover the truth behind Project Chimera. The walls are closing in, and the fight for survival is about to begin. The gradual transition plan for Kael and the Pride was now in full swing, a desperate race against unseen forces. The massive enclosure was divided, Kael and Rasputin occupying one section, the adult Pride, Boris, Katya, and Ivan, the other. Rasputin, with uncanny agility and absolute fearlessness, freely navigated between the two through specially designed cub-sized gaps, a small orange shadow flickering between worlds. He was more than a companion. He was a living bridge, his calming presence assuring Kael, and subtly signaling to the Pride that Kael, though strange in his origins, was now one of them. His movements weren't random dashes, but strategic, mediating interactions, diffusing potential tensions with a soft purr or a confident stride. Remarkably, Katya, the lioness, exhibited an unnervingly strong maternal instinct towards Kael. She would watch him with an intense, almost sorrowful gaze, nudging him gently through the fence, as if recognizing his altered nature and innate vulnerability, or perhaps sensing a profound, shared secret that transcended species. Meanwhile, Kael's bond with Rasputin deepened into an almost telepathic connection. They moved as one, anticipating each other's needs, Kael responding to the slightest twitch of Rasputin's tail, Rasputin understanding Kael's subtle rumblings. It was a language of instinct and trust, forged in the crucible of their shared, unnatural existence. Anya and Grigori, working in the hushed intensity of stolen hours, finally decrypted more of the data chip. The revelations were chilling. Kael wasn't merely rescued from a nebulous syndicate. He was extracted from a highly advanced, covert bioengineering facility after an incident. Novaya Zemlya, their isolated reclamation center, was not a sanctuary, but a sophisticated monitoring and reintegration center, its true purpose shrouded in layers of deception. The director's warnings, once subtle, now escalated to a strained plea, laced with palpable fear. His voice, usually composed, cracked as he cornered Anya in a secluded corridor. "Doctor, you have uncovered things. Secrets that powerful people want buried. Walk away now or you will be buried with them." His eyes, wide with a terror Anya now understood too well, confirmed their deepest fears. He was either a terrified pawn or a complicit participant. They were trapped within a sophisticated cage, and the walls were closing in, swiftly. The realization galvanized them. They began formulating a desperate, high-stakes plan for Kael, Rasputin, and potentially the entire pride to escape into the vast, unforgiving Siberian wilderness. Their window was narrow, and the consequences of failure would be fatal, not just for the animals, but for them. Under Rasputin's silent guidance, Kael began exhibiting new, unprecedented intelligent behaviors. He strategically used the enclosure's features, observing human movements with chilling acuity, almost planning his interactions and movements. It was a level of cognitive function that transcended even the most intelligent wild animal. He's not just learning to be a lion, Anya, Grigori observed, watching Kael use a discarded enrichment toy to block a camera's view before settling down with Rasputin. He's learning to be free, and he's learning it from Rasputin. The data chip's full decryption completed, laying bare the horrifying truth. The project code name seared into Anya's mind, Project Chimera, Apex Predator Genesis. Kael was not just a modified animal, he was a prototype, an engineered bioweapon designed with specific, terrifying capabilities. This facility was his testbed. Just as this chilling truth was revealed, they discovered hidden biometric scanners embedded seamlessly in Kael's enclosure walls, designed to monitor his genetic markers and neurological responses. Novaya Zemlya's true nefarious purpose was no longer conjecture. The audit team vanished, replaced by heavily armed, special security personnel. Their dark uniforms and grim faces were a stark contrast to the scientific environment, patrolling the facility with chilling vigilance. Their presence was a premonition of imminent confrontation. Rasputin, with unnerving calm, deliberately positioned himself to observe these new guards, his intelligent green eyes tracking their movements with an intensity that hinted at an awareness, an intelligence far beyond a domestic cat. He knew the agonizing decision had been made. Kael's permanent integration with the pride, without Rasputin, was imminent. It was Kael's ultimate test of independence, a final necessary step if he were ever to truly belong to the wild. The air was thick with unspoken goodbyes as Rasputin, with a quiet dignity, rubbed against Kael's massive head, purring deeply. Kael responded with soft chuffs, a rumbling sorrow that echoed through the enclosure. Rasputin's calm, unwavering confidence instilled a powerful, silent strength in Kael, preparing him for the life ahead, for a freedom they both knew was bought at a terrible price. Kael integrated fully. What unfolded was breathtaking. He demonstrated the astonishing extent of his unique intelligence, leading Boris, Katya, and Ivan in organized hunting maneuvers, strategizing and problem-solving in ways that defied normal lion behavior. This was the phenomenon they had read about in the encrypted files, organized behavior that defies normal scientific understanding. He wasn't just a lion, he was a leader, a strategist. Petrova and Grigori, armed with the fully decrypted data chip and a profound sense of urgency, now knew the full, terrifying truth. The facility was a covert containment zone. Novaya Zemlya, a pristine cage. They must act now. The confrontation exploded. The facility's special security personnel, no longer hiding behind bureaucratic titles, stormed Kael's enclosure. They were not here for an audit, but for retrieval, to resecure Project Chimera. Their leader, a stern man with eyes devoid of humanity, confronted Petrova directly. His voice a cold, metallic rasp. Dr. Petrova, Subject K001 is being recontained. Your interference and the unauthorized feline will be neutralized. But Anya was no longer the cautious scientist. With shocking determination etched on her face, she defied them. Her hand, steady despite the adrenaline, slammed down on a concealed emergency override panel she had secretly installed weeks ago. Sparks flew as alarms blared, a piercing wail echoing through the facility. Crucial barriers and gates throughout the center groaned open, creating calculated chaos, a symphony of freedom. The great escape had begun. Kael, now a magnificent, intelligent lion, his primal instincts sharpened by Rasputin's unwavering mentorship, roared. He led Boris, Katya, and Ivan in a calculated counterattack against the security forces, utilizing the chaotic environment and the vast Siberian terrain to his advantage. He moved with a cunning that was alien to wild lions, a precision born of design and defiance. Then, at a crucial, strategic moment, Rasputin appeared. The small tabby, his green eyes burning with fierce purpose, darted between the legs of the heavily armed guards, a flash of orange against the dark uniforms. He created a diversion, drawing the attention of key security personnel away from a weakening perimeter defense, allowing Kael and the Pride a critical window. They burst through the gap, a blur of golden fur against the stark snow. Amidst the chaos, Petrova and Grigori worked feverishly. With trembling fingers, they transmitted the data chip's explosive contents, genetic blueprints, horrifying project logs, and the names of those involved in Project Chimera, to global whistleblower networks and independent media contacts, unleashing the truth onto the world. The escape was violent, desperate, but successful. Kael, Rasputin, and the Pride vanished into the immense, unforgiving Siberian wilderness, free but now relentlessly hunted by a shadowy, powerful organization that would stop at nothing to reclaim its bioweapon. Dr. Petrova and Grigori, having risked everything, watched from a distance as the last of the lions disappeared into the snow-dusted forest. Their own fate was uncertain, a life of hiding perhaps, but the truth was out. Kael was engineered to be a docile weapon, a broken king. But Rasputin, the unsanctioned savior, had unlocked his true, formidable intelligence and his capacity for fierce loyalty, turning him against his creators. The unprecedented gratitude Kael held for the small tabby and the unfathomable intelligence of Rasputin were the catalysts that shattered the conspiracy. A single distinct paw print belonging to a house cat was visible in the fresh snow leading towards the vast, dark forest, followed closely by the majestic, powerful tracks of a lion. When that sterile transport crate arrived at Novaya Zemlya, Dr. Petrova and Grigori expected a fierce, wild cub, a symbol of nature's untamed spirit. Instead, what emerged was Kael, a 6-month-old lion, his golden fur matted, his eyes brimming with a terror that no predator should ever know. He didn't roar, he whimpered. His spirit, meticulously engineered for submission, was broken. But this is not just a story of despair, but of defiance. It's the tale of the most unlikely teacher, Rasputin, whose unfathomable intelligence and unwavering calm unlocked Kael's true formidable potential. It's the story of an engineered bioweapon reclaiming his birthright, of an extraordinary bond shattering a sinister conspiracy. Through their courage, Dr. Petrova and Grigori ensured Kael learned the most important lesson: how to be free. Now, somewhere in the vast Siberian wilderness, a lion moves with a cunning intelligence, guided by primal instinct and an unbreakable bond with a small orange cat. Their freedom echoes a truth whispered to the world, a testament to enduring hope and the extraordinary bonds of life. End.